Now. There it is. Um, I am expecting quite a few of us in this space, so please keep your microphone muted if you're not speaking. There will be a chance at the end to raise your hand, ask questions, but whilst we're just here together before the question period, please do keep yourself muted just to make the session as accessible as possible to everyone in the space. Once we get to the session bit, please feel free to use your hand function on the Zoom if you'd like to ask a question. There will be lots of opportunity to answer your questions. And also, please use the chat box to introduce yourself, your role, your institution, the country that you're located in as well. And throughout the session, feel free to ask questions throughout using the chat box, and we'll try and get back to your questions during the session. But if not, we'll be able to email you with responses as well. So just the agenda for today, we're going to begin, the session's an hour long. We're going to begin with some introductions. So introducing Isabel and myself, as well as our organization, Students Organizing for Sustainability and the International Association of Universities. Then we're going to talk about what is Responsible Futures. What are we so excited about? We're going to share outcomes from the program so far. And really excitingly, we're also going to be hearing from a current partnership, a current institution, the University of the West Indies. And Celia Davidson-Francis is representing the University of the West Indies and will be speaking about their experience on the program. Then we're going to talk about next steps. So if it sounds like it's a good fit for you, if it's going to help support with your work to embed sustainability and learning in partnership with students, what are the next steps? We'll talk about timelines, follow-up meetings that you can book with us, as well as costings. And around costings, we're taking a tiered approach. We want to make sure it's accessible to all kinds of institutions across the world. So we're going to talk through that with all of you. And then there will be time at the end for questions. So the purpose of today is a few things. So firstly, we want to celebrate and share with you the outcomes of the program so far. We've done some really interesting work in partnerships with universities and colleges across the world, and we're quite excited and want to share what we've been doing. We also want to create a space today where we're bringing together universities from across the world to discuss the next year's cohort, 2024-2025, and how it might look for you to be involved in this work. We also want to answer your questions and make the benefits of the program accessible to you. So we do want to hear your thoughts. What are your barriers? What are your opportunities for being involved? And just so you know kind of who's in this space, we've had really interesting, really good uptake on these online sessions this week. So we're running one today currently, and then we're also running one on Thursday just to accommodate different time zones across the world. And for both the sessions, we've had over 52 institutions sign up from over 35 countries across the world. So really global, and we want to see that representation in the program. So it's extremely exciting for us to be able to facilitate these spaces. So some introductions. Isabel and I are your lead contacts. My name is Sonia Perez, and I am a senior project manager working in education at an organization called Students Organizing for Sustainability. I'll talk about my organization in just a moment. I'm based in Scotland, and I am one of the lead contacts for the program. So if you have any questions after the session, feel free to get in touch with me. I come to international work and sustainability with both professional and personal experience. So I've studied in the Canadian and the UK education system, and I'm of South Asian heritage, and I've lived in a number of different countries. So I really value global conversations and partnerships in tackling the climate crisis through education. And I come to this work with that personal passion as well as professional experience. Isabel, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you so much, Sonia, and welcome everyone, and really great that you could join us today. So my name is Isabel Thoman, and I work as Program Officer for Higher Education and Research for Sustainable Development at the International Association of Universities. And we're really thrilled to be doing this program together with Students Organizing for Sustainability, so our implementation partner, and also bringing in a lot of expertise from working with universities. I've been working for almost 5 years at the IAU, mainly on projects with networks for the Sustainable Development Goals and also for sustainable development. And I have an international relations background, so I'm really strongly also looking at this partnership and this international approach to projects. Yeah, and I think that's it. I will just in a moment also say a bit more about the IAU, but many of you are members of the IAU, so you might know it. Sonia, back to you.
Thanks, Isabel. So just a bit on students organizing for sustainability. We are an educational charity that's focused on sustainability. And we were launched by the student movement, and we've been delivering campaigns, projects, workshops, advocacy since the early 2000s. So we work in the UK. I'm based in the UK, but we also have an international charity called SOS International, and that presidency is actually rotating. So currently it's the All Africa Student Union that is the president of SOS International. So our work is very much focused on supporting students to not just understand the challenges we're facing around the climate crisis, but to be able to access the kind of education that will support them to develop skills and attributes to lead on responding to the climate crisis and to shape a more sustainable world. We also work to make sustainability more inclusive so that all students, educators, stakeholders in your institutions across the world can feed into the work we're doing on sustainability and can mobilize to respond to the climate crisis. And then I'll hand over to Isabel to talk about IAU.
Thank you, Sonia. So as I said, I'm based at the International Association of Universities. We're in UNESCO at the headquarters in Paris, and we were created by UNESCO over 70 years ago. So we still have a very strong link, of course, to the policy side and education for sustainable development and higher education at UNESCO. But we are an independent membership organization and have a global membership of over 600 members, mostly universities and higher education institutions, and also some regional and national organizations. Part of the work we do is very much linked to our database and to publications, so I will not go into detail for that, and advocacy work as well. What I am in charge of is the work on sustainable development next to our other priorities of leadership, internationalization, and digital transformation. And while these are also connected, in particular, what we do for these HESD in short, is to really engage our members with sustainable development, working in this network of good practices. So the IAU HESD cluster, it's called, organizing events and exchanges, and also doing some surveys on sustainable development. So we really have this partnership component where also this program falls in, and yeah, that's why we have decided to engage. And I think on the next slide, there's just a picture of our cluster network when we met at one of our international conferences. And we really feel that Responsible Futures presents a really good engagement opportunity that connects a lot of the existing types of work, either on teaching or in community or on partnerships. So we're hoping that this can bring synergies into the work and have a strategic approach as well at universities to the topic of sustainable development and SDGs. Yeah, that's it from my part. I think I will go back to Sonia.
Thanks, Isabel. So you've heard from us, you have an understanding of where we're coming from, our organizations, and also our partnership and why we've chosen to work together to deliver Responsible Futures. So now I'm going to get into what exactly is Responsible Futures and what have we been doing for the past 10 years. So Responsible Futures is a whole institution approach to embedding holistic sustainability across the curriculum in universities and colleges. And when we say holistic sustainability, we mean looking at social, economic, and environmental sustainability. So the program has been running in the United Kingdom for 10 years now, and we launched our international pilot in October of 2023, so around halfway through the international pilot. We're launching the full international program in October 2024, and that's why we want to begin having these conversations with interested institutions now, because we're mindful it takes a bit of time to facilitate these conversations in your institutions and to make sure it's the right fit for you. So Responsible Futures is a supported change program and accreditation mark that works to put sustainability at the heart of all student learning. So the program provides a framework of good practice and accompanying support to foster an environment, to create an enabling environment for staff and students to work together to embed sustainability in teaching and learning. A key component of the program is a student-led audit, where we work with your students to provide the institution with valuable feedback and recommendations coming directly from your students about what they think you're doing well and what they'd like to see you progress in terms of embedding sustainability in learning. The student-led audit also determines Responsible Futures accreditation, and the accreditation is recognized by a number of sector bodies globally. So what the program does, if we zoom a bit back, is it legitimizes and it mainstreams education for sustainable development, which Isabel had mentioned, ultimately helping to ensure rather that students leave education with knowledge, skills, attributes that are needed to create a more just and sustainable society, and that can equip students to shape their future and have a say in what the world that they're graduating into actually looks like. So Responsible Futures is very much centering and progressing principles of education for sustainable development, or ESD. ESD is an education process that is becoming more and more mainstream. The United Nations is doing a lot of work around it. It's something that we know universities are prioritizing. So we see ESD as a process of education that focuses on ensuring graduates have knowledge and understanding, skills and attributes needed to contribute positively to holistic sustainability and climate justice by integrating it into their curriculum. So ESD focuses not just on what students are learning, but also on how they're learning and the environment in which they're learning. And so we see ESD as transformative, and we know it can and it should be used to support the systemic changes that are needed to realize climate justice. And this is very much the principle of Responsible Futures. What we're aiming to do is ensure that these ideas are embedded into teaching and learning across your institution. So we piloted the international program this year. We, around this time last year, began planning it with the International Association of Universities, and we invited 7 institutions across the world to join us to play a role in co-creating and shaping the international program with us. And this is really important because it means that the program is not just coming from IAU and SOS, but rather it's owned by the sector, and it's owned by universities and colleges who've been involved in shaping it and determining that it is fit for purpose and it is beneficial. So together, what we've done so far is we've co-created the International Responsible Futures framework. We've planned and shaped student-led audits, which will be taking place this summer, and we've been coming together regularly to exchange knowledge on the work that we've been doing around responsible futures. So what the program looks like is it's a cyclical program. So we work with an institution to join the program. Then we provide you with a framework of good practice that supports changes at your institution for ESD at various levels. So top down, bottom up, and the middle out. And we provide support, including individual tailored support and network learning opportunities to help you to engage with that framework. Then what we do is we train your students to deliver a student-led audit to help your students to provide you with feedback and recommendations for progressing your work. And to help your students have a voice in this really important piece of work that really impacts them. So embedded within the program is reflection, monitoring of outcomes and impacts, and continual progress. So it's not a tick box exercise of completing the framework and then doing the audit, but rather it's meaningful, and it's really meant to benefit your institution in a way that makes the most sense for you. So currently we're working with the pilot institutions to go through all of these areas of the program cycle. And so far through this, the pilot institutions have engaged stakeholders from across their institution, including students, alumni, presidents, governors, Indigenous learning staff, academics, colleagues from marketing and communications, estates managers. So it's really spread out across the institution for that whole institution approach. And these are the outcomes to date from the past 10 years of Responsible Futures, but also what we're seeing in the pilot. And we're actually creating an impact report about Responsible Futures that will be ready in the next couple of weeks. So we can send that over to folks on the call. But what we found is that we, through the program, have worked with institutions to increase their whole institution approaches for sustainability, to increase student leadership for sustainability, increased connectivity and collaboration between institutions for sustainability. So lots of network learning and institutions coming together to apply for funding for research. Lots of really interesting examples of that. We've seen more innovative initiatives for sustainability in learning, interdisciplinary learning, experiential learning through a living lab approach, co-creating learning with students as well. And we've also seen increased buy-in for sustainability in institutions themselves. So senior leaders prioritizing sustainability, students prioritizing sustainability, but also the wider sector and looking at what sector bodies are prioritizing. So I'd like to ask you a question now. I'm gonna hope it works, but I'm gonna ask you, out of all these outcomes, what is, the most important to your institution? And so on the screen, you're just gonna see a pop-up question, I believe. So which of these outcomes is the most important to your institution? And it might be all of them, so it might be a difficult question to respond to. Let's see. So we have 4 responses so far. I'll just give it a minute. I'll give it a couple more seconds.
Tricky. You want to reply to all of them, but you can only choose one.
I know. That's why it's quite tricky. Okay, I'm going to show you what everyone has said in this space. Can you see the responses? Right, I'm seeing Jens shake his head. Okay, fab. Yeah, so we're seeing just a spread, really. So folks just prioritizing all the different outcomes today. And I think that's fantastic because as Isabel said, it is really about that holistic approach. It's about focusing on a range of different outcomes that we want to see for sustainability. So hopefully that's given you a moment to just reflect and to think a bit about your own institution. So this is from a university in the UK. Their students have said, through the Responsible Futures audit, the university supports students to have a voice in sustainability, which is something we cherish so much. So I'm just going to talk a bit about just some going into more detail about the outcomes today, and then I'll hand over to Celia from the University of the West Indies. But currently, we're working with 18 institutions in the UK and 7 selected pilot institutions globally. So just a map of the geographical spread. With the pilot institutions, we have representation in the Americas, in Europe, in Africa, in Australia, and in Ireland. So really interesting mix of institutions that have been able to shape what the program looks like. So some key figures today. So over the past 10 years, we've worked with 48 institutions, universities and colleges, reaching over 1 million students globally. We've worked with students to lead 50 audits. We've helped institutions to work with their students to take over 3,000 actions for ESD. We've worked with over 200 students leading audits, and we've facilitated over 70 network learning meetings and events and sessions where we bring staff and students from Responsible Futures institutions together to exchange knowledge and talk about the work that they're doing. Just a case study from the university, Manchester Metropolitan University, who's been involved in Responsible Futures since its pilot in 2014, so been involved for the past 10 years. So they recently, in 2022, launched a sustainability strategy which commits them to embed sustainability, ESD, in all of their courses by 2026, so 2 years from now. In 2020, they began work to engage stakeholders to come together to create this new sustainability strategy. So it's not just coming from the top down, but all sorts of voices across the institution are heard in the strategy. And so what they did was they delivered training to around 100 senior colleagues from across the university on sustainability. They delivered interactive workshops to staff and students. They conducted surveys to ask staff and students what they wanted the university to prioritize. And they also developed specific projects to engage students in their new sustainability strategy and ran a student-led campaign on Instagram and Facebook. And what they've said is that the Responsible Futures program has been valuable in providing a framework to encourage action on embedding sustainability across the institution. And it's catalyzed support from the partnership to enable this work, specifically around developing this this strategy. So that's an interesting case study that I thought could be relevant and that I'd like to share. We have lots of different case studies available on pedagogical approaches that institutions have taken through the program, on network learning that institutions have engaged with, partnerships that they've made with other institutions. So if there's anything in particular that you'd like to learn more about, like, please do let us know in the chat or send us an email and we can send across case studies. Great. So what I'd like to do now is I'd like to hand over to Celia Davidson Francis. And Celia is the director at the University of the West Indies, Alumni Relations, and our lead contact at Responsible Futures, at the University of the West Indies for Responsible Futures, as well as a few other roles as well. So Celia is going to talk a bit about the University of the West Indies and their work on Responsible Futures. So I'll stop sharing my screen, Celia, and give you screen sharing abilities.
Thank you so much, Sonia. Good morning, everyone, or good evening, depending where you are in the world. I just turn on my camera briefly just to say a quick hi, and now I will share my screen and just give you an idea of what we have been up to at the University of the West Indies. Okay, as Sonia said, we are, oops, I think this is going to give me a little bit of trouble here. We are located in the Caribbean. It's one university, however, we are represented in 17 English-speaking countries, and we have 5 campuses, so we have a large geographic area. We are delighted that UWI is part of Responsible Futures. We're the first university in the Caribbean to be invited to be a part of this excellent program. And we are excited because UWI already has a reputation as an SDG engaged university with expertise and a focus on Caribbean sustainable development. And we are involved in the Global University Consortium on the UN Sustainable Development Goal 13, Climate Action. And I'm sharing my diagram on the screen just to give you an idea of the structure we have put in place to support the Responsible Futures program. It's pretty easy. It looks a little bit complicated, but it is easy. If you look at the side of the green side, you'll see that we have our Pro-Vice Chancellor who is responsible for the overall program. She's leading in global affairs, and she is our champion. And our Vice Chancellor has also indicated his support and is recognized as one of our champions. And we think it's important to have people at the top that are supporting this. I was selected as regional director, and I've put in place an advisory board. We're lucky at UWI across the Caribbean. We are extremely interested because we are very vulnerable to climate change impacts. And we have experts in all kinds of fields to do with sustainable development, the climate crisis, biosecurity, oceanography, etc. We also have experts in education for sustainable development, and they are advising me as how to best approach and involve everyone. And we have what we call a UWI Resilience Network already in place. So we feel we're well placed, and that the Responsible Futures team has been excellent in guiding us. Because Responsible Futures is student-driven, and the group that I created and founded called the UWI STAT, which STAT stands for Students Today, Alumni Tomorrow, Ambassadorial Corps, operates on all of our campuses, and the group has a reputation for climate action and advocacy. So that's the reason I was asked to be the regional director for Responsible Futures at UWI, and to ensure that it is a university-wide program. And as you know, as Sonia has underscored, we're all moving towards ESD, and we are at the UWI as well. And I was one of the ones that voted for the top point, that we're looking for an all-encompassing whole institution approach. And even though we're starting with the students and perhaps the curricula and non-curricula, we are planning to be moving towards our operations and infrastructure in the future. So we're essentially introducing this whole program in stages. And as you can see, like you all, we are very interested, the main purpose on the left-hand side in the gray boxes, in embedding and mainstreaming sustainability and resilience across the institution. And as I've said before, we are trying to involve every aspect. So that is, as I said, too, it's going to be something that we are doing in stages. So far, we have basically introduced Responsible Futures to our whole UWI population across all our countries and campuses, and also advised our alumni that we are part of Responsible Futures because we are preparing our students to be citizens that are concerned about sustainability once they graduate. And we take the approach that, yes, they're students, they are our future alumni, and they are with us for usually between 3 to 5 years. But once they graduate and are alumni and connected to us, they're with us for another 50 plus years or so. So if they have that sustainability mindset, hopefully they'll be carrying it out into the world as well. So as I mentioned, our Vice Chancellor and Pro-Vice Chancellor are our champions. We have designed a One UE Sustainability and Resilience Policy, which is an overarching policy. It's in draft form, and we hope to get it approved at our May University meetings. And we also have let me just see if I can advance the screen. We have kind of decided that we wanted to have a branding that everybody could understand who we're working with. And every time we show this brand, we indicate that we're an accredited tertiary institution helping students to gain skills and experiences needed to thrive as global citizens. This is what we have kind of let everybody at the university know, that our institutional approach has 2 areas of focus, that's ESD and operations and infrastructure. We're putting things in place to enable this to happen in terms of our governance and policy, our reporting and monitoring, our budget and financing. Budget and financing is always a problem, I have to say, but I'm sure it is at your institutions too, but we're trying, and we hope to ensure integrity and transparency. And our 10 priorities by 2030, I think it's a little bit ambitious, but it's always good to be really gung-ho and try. Research curriculum, reducing our carbon emissions, biodiversity, our food sources, resource use, international and local travel, etc. International and local travel is a problem for us. Well, it's a challenge for us. I don't think it's a problem in the Caribbean in terms of the fact that we are across 17 countries. So even though we have been doing a lot of Zoom and online, sometimes you do really need to interact with people. And we don't yet have a lot of electric and other alternative options, but we're hoping that that will soon come. Just to give you an idea, we have a vision that we have created, and it's kind of long, but we have, as I said, 17 countries, so everybody wants a piece of the action. So if you notice right at the bottom in the blue bold, that is basically the summary statement of our vision, that the UB will influence its stakeholders to channel their energy, creativity and intellect to co-create a future where sustainability and resilience are fundamental pillars of the UB's identity. And we have our mission statement, which has been approved, and you'll see at the top in blue, that's again a summary statement of our mission: to empower each Pelican to embrace sustainability and resilience in their daily lives, careers, classrooms, research, innovations, and in all of their pursuits. And we call ourselves Pelicans because that's the symbol at the top of our university crest. The Pelican is found in all 17 Caribbean countries, so we are the UE Pelicans. We also have put in place our pledge and our statement, so that will help just generally as we reinforce, and from a top-down, bottom-up and middle-out standpoint, try and let everyone know that we are fully committed to be part of Responsible Futures. We are actually taking part in the March 2024 teach-in right now and gradually introducing our lecturers as to how they may include the SDGs and sustainability in their courses. We have some who are very enthusiastic and I was just talking to Sonia about the fact that there are a lot of persons who are interested. I should underscore too that we have had an overall very enthusiastic response from students, both from our student guilds and from the group that I lead. And all of those who are involved at UE in the SDGs in terms of quality. We have our Global Institute for Climate Smart and Resilient Development. All of those persons have reached out to me and said that they're really happy that UE is taking this track. We've had great support from the Responsible Futures team. They really do provide a framework that I think is very broad and most universities can work with, no matter how involved you are or uninvolved or whatever challenges you have. They have a lot of online resources, and I love the fact that they are available despite the time zone difference, the wonders of technology. But really, we are on the road to sustainability, and we're looking forward to our Responsible Futures journey. It's been great so far, and we're confident that it will only get better. So thank you.
Thanks so much, Celia. Really helpful, and it's so lovely to hear about all the work that you're driving with your students at the University of the West Indies. And yeah, I suppose it's just an example of the sort of knowledge exchange and that global network that we really facilitate through the program. So Celia and other colleagues at that are involved in the Responsible Futures pilot come together and talk about the work they're doing and exchange knowledge. And I think that's really valuable. Thanks so much, Celia. So I'm just gonna, oh, sorry.
Just saying you're welcome.
Oh, fab, thanks. So I am going to talk a bit about the next steps, and then we'll be able to open up for questions. So we've gone over exactly what the program looks like, what exactly we've been doing over the past 10 years to partner students with their institution to embed sustainability in learning through a whole institution approach. And we've also talked about what we're doing currently with the pilot and why the pilot is so important. It's because we're working with institutions to co-create the program with us. So it's not really coming from just sector bodies, but rather from the institutions themselves. So what I'll do now is I'll hand over to Isabel to just talk through the timelines ahead of the wider program launch in October.
Thank you so much, Sonia, and big thank you to Celia for sharing what they've been doing. And it's really incredible. Every time I speak to someone from the University of West Indies, I hear you have new initiatives and really putting it structurally in your strategy and policies and the mission to be working with ESD. So I think that's that's definitely something that we should take a good example of. So in terms of the timelines, because you've joined this meeting and maybe not knowing much about the program, or maybe yes, you have looked already quite a bit through the information we have available online. So the first step is obviously that you have joined the session, or some colleagues might also watch the recording. And now we're really giving you time for a couple of months to follow up, to digest the information, to ask questions, to maybe involve other colleagues at your institutions as you see needed. If you're hopefully then interested. So, and you can also ask to meet again with us or email us in terms of questions. So we have these couple of months because last year we got the feedback to do these meetings earlier. So we know that processes can take a bit longer internally at universities. So that's why we have decided to do them now. But we need a first expression of interest for those that would like to take part in the 2024 to 2025 cohort of the Responsible Futures International Program by 6 June. And then we would confirm the participation at the very latest by mid-August of this year, because we are starting this program, which we are of course aware of that in different countries or parts of the world, the academic year is not always the same. But we have decided to start it in October because that's when the pilot is coming to its end with the presentation at the annual IAU International Conference, which is this year taking place at the end of November in Tokyo at Sophia University. And then we can also, we'll also officially then have online meetings with the new group. Of course, it might be depending on time zones or depending on academic calendars. There might be some differences for each of the participants, but the approximate guiding timelines would be this. What then will happen in the months to come, you will have regular meetings of the cohort groups, sometimes also split in two groups because of the time zones. You might also have some smaller meetings and catch-ups, one-to-one sessions. You will get a toolkit shared. You will really see how you can work with this program and how you can work at your institutions on a regular basis. There will be these support sessions. And we are working towards a possible student-led audit and accreditation, which could then take place at the end approximately of this 1-year cycle, or maybe for some already a bit earlier in May, or maybe even until September 2025, which is, it's sort of the process of an accreditation and an audit that can take stock of the work being done over the course of the year. So this is just an approximate timeline. And of course, and Sonia showed the cycle a bit earlier in her presentation. Many institutions opt for then also continuing the cycle for the next year and staying in the program and involving other colleagues. Or you might want to do the program for a year, have the accreditation, and then join it again at a different time. So, I mean, the idea is to have a continuity and to put these structures into place, but it's very much open to what you are looking for as well as an institution and the experience you will have with the program. Would that cover it, Sonia? Yes, or did I forget something?
Yeah, no, I think that's really helpful. Thanks, Isabel. I think just to reiterate your point that we are really mindful that these conversations can take a while and there is a lot of bureaucracy in institutions, but we are here to help. So if you are interested in this and if you think your institutions could benefit and your students could benefit, then we're happy to kind of help as best as we can through the process, whether that's meeting individually with certain colleagues or supporting you along the way. So this is the timeline that we have. We will be sending resources over after the call with the proper timelines as well. So what I want to do now is I want to talk about program costings before we get to discuss and ask each other questions. So we are taking a tiered approach to the Responsible Futures International Program. And the reason we're doing this is because we want to ensure that the program is accessible to institutions with varying resources and capacities. And we want to address global power dynamics in our mission to create a sustainable and just education system and world. So we're really mindful about the different sort of political histories and current contexts that a lot of institutions are coming from that might make it difficult to engage materially. And so we want to make this accessible, and we're very open to having this conversation with you. We're a charity, so we are completely nonprofit, and any costs associated with the program are solely to cover our delivery time, and that's exactly what all it is. So I'm going to talk through what the tiers look like. So the first tier is, and I put the costings in American dollars, but feel free to get in touch if you'd like to talk about what that looks like in your local currency. So the first tier is for a low income country, and we're basically asking institutions to self-select. So we want you to kind of reflect on which tier you're best suited to be in, and we sort of trust that you're choosing the best tier for yourself, and we want to work with you to do this reflective process. So the first tier is one or more of certain criteria, which is being in a low-income country, a country that's currently experiencing significant social or political instability, an institution with no endowment funds, or an institution that's experiencing financial instability. Then the third tier, sorry, it says tier 1, but this is actually tier 3, is a high income country, institution that does have endowment funds, a private institution, or an institution that has generally stable finances. And then we've also introduced a middle tier, and this exists for institutions that might exhibit criteria from both the low tier and the high tier. So for example, a financially stable private institution in a low income country, or an institution in a high-income country that's experiencing financial instability or might have a really constrained sustainability budget. So these are the tiers. I'll send along information that highlights exactly the different criteria within the tier, but it's a self-reflective, self-selecting process. So it's up to you to kind of decide which tier suits you best. And we're very, very happy to have this conversation with you to help. I also want to mention that we have another tier, which is the subsidized membership. And this is for institutions who would benefit significantly from participation, but who have financial barriers that might prevent their registration. So we have a few places at this membership rate, and we really want to work with institutions who might not normally be able to do something like this or might not have the funds to do something like this. So do get in touch if you'd like to chat about it further. Yeah, and so we're just very open to discussing to ensure the program is accessible to you and your institution. A key sort of focus of the program is climate justice. So these are things that we want to prioritize and center. So just so you get an idea of what exactly you're paying for as part of the program. So membership includes access to the Responsible Futures online framework, which was co-created by the pilot institutions and ourselves, as well as an accompanying resource bank. You'll have access to global network learning, so regular catch-up sessions with the staff and students from participating institutions, support sessions, so we all come together and learn about and explore a specific topic that's related to responsible futures. We actually have one coming up tomorrow for the international pilot, which is on student engagement on leadership for sustainability and ESD. Webinars, as well as an online email list where you can ask questions, share resources, talk about opportunities with staff and students who are involved in the program. You also receive bespoke support days for your institution from SOS. So we are sustainability experts and especially around student leadership. And so we can work with you on workshops or pieces of research that can support you to embed sustainability and learning in a way that's very bespoke to your institution. The membership also includes your 2-day student-led audit and the Responsible Futures accreditation, which is subject to your audit results. And then, of course, ongoing support from SOS and IAU. So just a note on resources that you will receive after this call. So we'll be sending over the slides. We'll send over the session recording. We'll also send over an information document with the costings, with timelines, and with a program overview. And then we'll include a link to an online form in case you'd like to ask any questions, express interest, or if you'd like to schedule a call to chat with us individually. We'd love to learn more about your specific institutional context and how we can help you. So, great, we have a good amount of time for questions. So what I'll do is I'll open the floor for any questions that anyone might have. But I'd also like to pose a couple of questions that you might want to consider in your asking a question. So who or which group at your institution would be best placed to take responsible futures forward? I'm mindful that you might be coming in because you're interested, but not feel like you're the best person to take this forward at your institution. So who might be and how can we, explore that together? And then what opportunities are there at your institution to take part in responsible futures? So I will stop sharing my screen and open the floor for any questions that anyone might have. Yeah, Carla.
Yes, good morning, everyone. I'm Carla Mendoza from PUC, from Peru, actually, and we are very, very excited about this initiative. I think that it's really interesting and very important too for our world. So my question is, to whom we should contact not only to be an accredited beneficiary of the projects, but to lead this important initiative through South America, for example. I saw that in the map, there's no many countries that will be beneficiary for this. So we would like to make an impact too.
Yeah, so we are, I think that's a good point. So we want to ensure that the program has global representation, and we have signups from all over the world, which is really exciting for these online sessions. So we would absolutely love to see institutions in Latin America and South America take part in the program.
So there's an email or someone to contact?
Yeah, so I'll follow up over email. I'll send over all of those resources that can explain exactly how you can follow up and how we can continue this conversation with your institution.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Carla. Does anyone else have any questions around the timelines, any of the outcomes that we've spoken about?
Sonia?
Hi, Celia.
Hi, sorry, I forgot to raise my hand. Sorry. It's not a question. I was just kind of sharing the fact that I think we are in the first group that have taken Responsible Futures International. And I think what we appreciated greatly was that you had everyone that was international come together and look at your existing framework and look at it from our perspectives, which obviously are very different depending on our resources and capacity, etc. And we were able to kind of fashion our own Responsible Futures International framework based on with input from ourselves as well. And I think that is very forward thinking of Responsible Futures, because we are all in different circumstances across the world. And this, I think, has made it easier for me to get buy-in from folks to say, you know, we had a voice in what we are able to do in our corner of the world. And just also to kind of reinforce to everyone that the framework is very user-friendly, and that the resources that you offer really are extremely helpful as well. So just thought I'd share that.
Thanks, Celia. And yeah, I guess just to speak a bit more about the framework. So we, as Celia mentioned, we worked with the pilot institutions to develop a framework that is fit for purpose for a global context. So the way it works is that all of the criteria within the framework support changes that you can make in partnership with your students and other stakeholders at your institution for ESD. But what's really important about the framework is that it's not prescriptive. So we're not expecting each institution that takes part in Responsible Futures to engage with the framework or respond to the criteria in the same way, but rather to work with the framework in a way that makes sense for your institutional context and your regional context as well. And we've seen some really interesting work already from this. So for example, there's Mohawk College in Canada is involved in the pilot, and we also have Murdoch University in Western Australia, and both of them are really centering Indigenous voices in their work and have Indigenous sovereignty as very key pillars of their strategies. And we've actually put them, connected them, and so they're exchanging knowledge on these two areas of work that are different, and they're at opposite ends of the world, but are also quite similar. And I think that's just like a really interesting example of how the framework can work within an institutional regional context, but it's also fit for purpose more widely. Yeah, thanks, Celia, for highlighting that. Does anyone else have any questions around perhaps who might be able to take this conversation further at your institution? Questions about costs, timelines, your next steps, perhaps?
I think I just remembered something, and if there's a question, I'll stop talking, but we didn't say how many we want. So we're 7 in the pilot, and then we're aiming for a group around 10, 12 universities, and we really want to look that we have a good regional representation, or maybe some different types of institutions. So we had also some universities of applied science, we had some technical universities, we have a college right now in the pilot group. And of course, we really want to have as many different perspectives as possible. Also to understand how institutions work and what maybe for sustainability needs to be adapted in that context. And right now, I think I think it's really great personally that we have a lot of Latin American participants, because we don't have South or Latin American perspective. We have University of the West Indies in the Caribbean, which is geographically, let's say, the closest. We have some Canadians now, Australia or Europe. But yeah, we really hope to have more institutions also from Africa, Asia, Latin America that will join this next group. So we will look at which institutions are interested, and hopefully we'll be able to then have a good group. So it will also be a small group that will be the next cohort. Yeah.
Thanks, Isabel.
I think there's a hand. Yeah, sorry, Sonia. I'll stop talking. Thank you. I'll let you.
No, that was helpful. Yeah, we have someone who has their hand up. MCD. I don't know if...
Yes, my name is Ana Rosa Jimenez, and that stands for Maestría en Ciencia de los Datos. That is a Master in Data Science. And right now I'm coordinating this program since 2019. And here in Mexico, there have been a lot of interest in this area. And right now that you were saying that the information that you are generating should be analyzed through different types of techniques, no? And probably, I don't know, right now in the University of Guadalajara, specifically at CUSEA, which is a campus where I'm coordinating this master, there are so many initiatives for this topic, for sustainability. And right now that you were saying that you already developed a framework for taking steps, no, probably small steps at the beginning, but solid steps, no, in I think, because if you have already a framework, so that means that these have been working. And obviously, if you could share it with us, so we can, in this case, we will need to translate it into Spanish, so we can, or I don't know if you have the Spanish version already, so I could share it with my authorities and have a program of a sustainability program, but based on this framework. So right now, obviously, I'm really busy with a lot of things, but I'm really into all these topics of sustainability. So I personally probably I'm not like the right person to be in the project, but probably I'll do. I don't know, but I would really like to be part of this, so I could take, as I said, small steps to have something solid.
Thanks, Ana Rosa. So yeah, just to respond to your comment and question. So the framework is actually designed for institutions who are at different stages of their sustainability journey to engage with. So for example, if you're just beginning your work on sustainability, it's a really helpful way for you to see clear steps and actions and ways that you can engage with your students and other stakeholders. If you've been doing sustainability work for, decades now, it's still a really helpful approach, because what it does is it provides a cohesive space where you can take stock of all the work that you're doing and do it through a joined up approach, as opposed to potentially working in silos. So there's lots of different ways that you can engage with the framework. There's lots of different benefits to the framework, from really the initial steps that you're taking at your institution, or that sort of broader taking stock and planning the work going forward. In terms of accessing the framework, what we'll do is, because the framework's a part of the program, is we're able to give you an overview of what the framework involves, so the different areas it covers within your institution, and we'll be able to share that. But I'll make sure to provide all of that in the follow-up resources that I share with everyone. Fab. So we have a few minutes left. Does anyone have any other questions around the program?
To answer the question about the language, we're aware that
yes,
it's an accessibility issue as well. I mean, I'm based in France, and we have a lot of French universities that would be interested also in a French program, or maybe a Spanish program for Latin America and Spain. But for now, it's only in English. But if it's for communicating to your colleagues about this program, we are happy to also try to provide some information in either Spanish or French from our side. But the program itself would stay in English, also to communicate then with the rest of the group doing these support sessions. Yeah, thanks, Sonia.
Well, here in the University of Guadalajara, specifically at CUSEA, where I'm working right now, we have a program that is it's a program to teach different languages, not only English. So we teach French, we teach Italian, obviously English as the basis. So I don't know, it could be like a project for us as a program to help you in making a translation, an official translation of this framework. I don't know, that could help. Obviously, not only my university, but other universities that are asking for different versions. We have French teachers, we have Italian teachers, and obviously Spanish teachers and American teachers. So I don't know, that could be another a parallel program or to work on. I don't know. something that came out to my mind right now.
Thanks, Ana Rosa. I think that's a really interesting idea, and we'd definitely be interested in working with institutions to to translate material to make the program more accessible to a broader range of institutions. So we'll definitely follow up with that. We have 4 minutes left. Does anyone have any other questions about the program, about your institution and how it might benefit from the program? Great. So what we'll do is we will send follow-up materials, and we'd love to schedule follow-up calls with your institution to learn more about your specific context and how we can work with you. So feel free to get in touch. We'll send over the slides, and if you have any questions, you know where to find us over our email. Great. Isabel, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
No, I just want to thank everyone. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Hope you have a wonderful day or afternoon or evening, depending on where you're joining from. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Have a nice day. Nice to meet you.